Unless you have any questions.
Ready to rock.
Cool. Let's do it live in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Into the Nexus, episode 218. I am Kyle Fergusson, and joining me this week, as Garrett is on holiday, is Jeff Kanata. Welcome back, Jeff.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
It's a good week to have you. The game is mixing up, and I feel like when you're not here, I have to argue for the golds out there who don't believe me that Kael'thas Medic still gets first pick, first ban.
Yeah, that's right. Lots of Kael'thas bans in my league for sure. And I think rightfully so. I think people still don't know what to do with a living bomb. And now there's more living bombs because Ignite gives people living bombs.
Yeah, how did that shake up for you? Because it's such an odd ability to just confuse people suddenly at 16.
Yeah. I mean, you don't ever want to stand in Flame Strike, but now you don't want to stand in Flame Strike and then run towards your teammates.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, there's some game knowledge stuff, particularly with that character, that seems to still baffle people. And I don't know why the feeling when you are on fire is to run toward friendly-looking folks, but that is the opposite of what you should be doing, obviously.
We need a character with like a blanket or just a fire extinguisher.
Just stop, drop, and roll, man. Don't come toward me. Stop, drop, and roll. That's all you need to do.
Has he transitioned full to Pyroblast in Gold?
No, I still see lots of Phoenix. What is high-level play using Pyroblast?
It's hotly debated at the moment in the individual games. This isn't like a Reddit thread where people are arguing. This is just people in game. 50% say you have to Pyroblast. We need kills, kind of Chromie style. And then the other 50%, no, we need control. We need slowing sands kind of
Interesting.
style.
I hate Pyroblast, man. I really do. I just don't like the point and click delete a player. Nothing I can do about it, really. Thing, and I don't like using it. I like the zoning and the area control with Phoenix. I much prefer that as a player and also as an opponent. But I can understand why it might be going back into vogue. Standing back and just deleting people is very nice.
And it does, I guess, require someone else to come in and save your bacon, which is less likely the lower you go. Interesting that it's become such a thing in Diamond and Masters now.
Yeah. Is there a lot of Chromie play as well? A lot of people.
Yeah. In fact, a very popular strategy right now to sort of recover very quickly from underdrafting tanks is to take Johanna and then load up with like a Hanzo Chromie. We actually fought this during our coaching yesterday.
We did, yeah, and it was tough. I mean, I was on Artanis, and so as a melee character, there was a lot of poke, and I was just absorbing so much damage from the Hanzo Chromies just to try to get close enough to them to do anything, to swap people or whatever. So yeah, I felt the sting of that particular comp. It's rough.
One of the great things about it for the other players involved is that all they have to do is aim in front of Johanna, and there's a very high likelihood that things will be vacuumed and slowed into that area. So you just keep on spamming. Yeah,
for sure. But we won.
We did.
And I think that was due to a lot of really expert shot calling on your part. That was great.
It was a lot of fun. Everyone who joined us, thank you for being so awesome in that game and listen to the shot calls. We were able to get our Thrall into the back line and just sort of scare him up, which so often, and that's why I think, it's always so hard to talk about strategy. And how do I beat this comp? It's like, well, you got to find out if the enemy's scared of you first.
Yeah, make them scared of you.
Exactly. If they are, then there isn't really a strategy except for get in their faces and make sure Chromie, Morales, Hanzo, whoever it is, can't relax.
Right. Yeah, disrupt that back line, which is not easy to do in a solo queue environment, because oftentimes if you're the guy who says, okay, well, now it's time to disrupt that back line, and the rest of your team is smacking the Johanna in the front there, you end up just dying in the back. So it's nice having a coordinated team where you can say, okay, Thrall's going in the back, and we're going to support that decision.
Yeah, we talk a lot about the things we can control around here, drafting and what your roster's going to be and what you're picking for the map. But when it comes to that sort of thing, it's often a play style thing. And you'll see Genji's dive the backline, whether there's a backline worth diving or not. It's just what he's used to. And in that situation, he might be farming his deflect talent for 20. If it's a bit of an investment, it's a ways off, but you got to start early.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely found myself in that position of understanding what needs to be done in a solo queue environment and saying, okay, well, this isn't working. We need to disrupt that backline some way. But communicating that and organizing a team around it is less easy. And sometimes, you feel like, okay, well, I know I need to go around and, cut into the backline a little bit. And then I'm by myself, stranded as everybody else retreats.
We're also going to have conflicting information here because we may be entering a solo tank meta as Johanna and Arthas with their area control end up taking up the front line. But more on that later because that's going into the Nexomania patch. Before we get to news this week, I do need to announce a very special project comes around each year this time. It's the third annual charity Brawl for Make-A-Wish Foundation, and this involves a bunch of podcasters in the Heroes scene, as well as some other community members, getting together Saturday the 2nd at 2 p.m. over at twitch.tv/frogpants and raising money for Make-A-Wish. And this year...
So great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. First year, we had a 1,000 goal. We crushed it. Second year, we had a 3230 goal for a little memeage. Crushed that. So this year, we're putting up to 5,000. We hope we'll see you all there. Really looking forward. The games are wacky. There's no turn-ins on Blackheart's Bay till a team has 100 coins. Like, things just get odd, and that's the point because we're mixing a lot of skill levels, and we're here to have fun.
Ah, dude, that's so wonderful. It's a great cause. It's great people, all these cool podcasts, bringing personalities from across a bunch of podcasts together to play games, to play the game we all love. What a great thing. And kudos to you guys for being part of it.
It's fantastic. Gorath Bo Schwartz does a fantastic job putting it together each year with Scott Johnson and all of them, and thank you for him putting together all that work, getting the website up. You can go right now in advance to heroescharitybrawl.net if you would like to donate ahead of time, which is always very exciting. There will be a live stream. There, of course, will be giveaways during it, as well as some special guests, perhaps. You can also head over to gofundme.com/heroescharitybrawl 2018.
Awesome.
Now, on to the news, which is more than just sequenced wrestling skins. Though those are fabulous.
That would be enough for me. Sequenced wrestling skins would be enough for me. I popped like a mark at the Nexomania skins, and I have already spent more than I probably should have because I got to have that Chihuahua, and I got to have those skins.
They're good-looking skins. It's a good variety, too. Some heroes who don't normally get touched. Sonya's always spoiled, but Sonya's in every match anyway, so it's fine.
Right.
It's good to have visual diversity.
It is interesting how certain characters, it feels like it's just easier for them to skin those characters and not mess up their silhouettes or whatever the criteria is. But, we get a lot of Uther skins. We get a lot of Sonya skins. It just seems like certain characters, but there's other characters that maybe not as much. Maybe not as... Diablo also is another character that gets a lot of skins. So
that's a good point. I wonder if he's just bumped mapped easy. He's not featuring like Tyrael wings or anything that's made of graphics.
Yeah, it was interesting. You were talking about how difficult it is for them to skin Ragnaros, for example, because all of his stuff is so much based on spell effects and visual effects in the game rather than just pure, textures. But there's a lot of, I think, underserved characters like that. I think Malthael is kind of like that. I think that there are several characters where it's like I'd like to see something a little more interesting and daring than getting yet another Sonya skin because Sonya already has some awesome skins.
Yeah, I wonder if they really like doing Diablo because he ain't got no weapons, doing Butcher because he only has one weapon, and they're always like, "Here's the Sonya pipeline." The guy goes, 2 weapons. I don't wanna.
What do I do? But I love the Garrosh, man, with the folding chair as the weapon. Just inspired. That is just inspired. I love it.
And a great quest, too. I mean, there's a lot about this event that is a first for Blizzard. The quest selection, where you choose your team, which is going to go on next week into ETC Kairazim, I've heard. And maybe even a week after that into another set of quests.
I love that. I mean, I had a little analysis paralysis trying to decide which team I wanted. But... I love that. I love the gamification of it. And I hope they surface some stats about that at the end of the event when they say, X number of the players or X percentage of the player base did this quest versus that quest. Like, make it into a whole thing. I think that'd be fun.
Oh, yeah. Run with it. And continue to, push those boundaries. It's fun to do the Horde versus Alliance thing. And when there's no argument to it, right? Like here, it's Sonya versus Lunara, and that's a great matchup because I think everyone kind of goes, well, who engaged first? There's no winner
Yeah,
there
right.
in a best of three. But I also want to really take a moment to say some stuff about this patch too. In addition to our previous patch that was very laid out and very healthy for the meta, these patch notes have a video per character, which were done in advance, but they also have this quest. You get the guapo announcer with it. I mean, this is definitely a good example, a great example of the current amped up rework atmosphere they talked about several months ago.
Yeah, and these themed skin packs and the fact that it feels like these little teeny universes that they're dropping into the game. I think all of this has really been taken up a notch, and I love it. I love the idea of these these themes that are wild and wacky and out there, but they're not just one or two skins. It's a whole variety of them.
There's also a player awareness that's come with it. Everyone was excited about this event, much like Mecha Storm, but that I felt like was kind of on Twitter because we saw the video, that's where it was shared out, and you had to go to the website to get that cartoon to show.
Yeah.
With it in the patch notes, with it linked in game, I felt like the Lunara and Diablo play has been at a higher level than it normally is during a big rework time period.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, you think that's just because people are enthusiastic about it?
I think so, and I think it's the amount of attention we put on it. The event kind of circles around it, and you're always thinking about those characters, Lunara and Diablo, in this event. You kind of wonder, wait, did the other characters get messed with? Why are they part of this thing? Kind of maybe some odd fluff in the mind there.
Yeah. I just wish that we hadn't already done the superhero skins. You know, we got several superhero skins for Sonya and others. And I feel like if that hadn't happened already, it would be a pack like this where it's all themed and it has a cool, set and everything. It was sort of doled out differently back then when they were rolling those ones out. And I just wish we had this more cohesive superhero idea now. It would be cool.
I would expect it to come back. I mean, these chests for this event have the Sun's Out, Guns Out items in them. This is our summer event. And we could do a superhero event while including those old items.
That would be great. I would love that. I would love to have many more of those superhero, and maybe Nexomania will come back. Maybe Nexomania will feel like an annual thing or a periodic thing that can come back and include more characters as well.
Outside of the big reworks and updates that we're going to talk about very soon and their impact, there was one other big change to the game, which was you can no longer vote for yourself in the MVP screen.
I like that.
Me too.
I like that. I'm always tempted to vote for myself, but I don't know. I'm of two minds about forcing people to vote at all. Like, it's kind of annoying that you can just skip it out and there's a few of us are hanging out, one or two of us hanging out in the voting screen and everybody else just pieced out real quick. I understand you got to let people move on to the next game if they want to, but I wish they could find ways to incentivize participation in that. I think those are all positive ways to reinforce good teamwork and good gamesmanship.
I think that's coming. We're getting rid of self-votes, which makes me feel like there's going to be some sort of achievement for getting certain numbers, maybe just a sign on your page as to what you're best at. You've gotten Headhunter the most, or you're the Merc guy.
That'd be cool. I'd love that. I mean, I take a lot of pride in the little stat in the stats screen about how many MVPs you've gotten. I really take a little pride in that. And I would love that to be blown out and be more robust. And yeah, how many times were you this guy? How many times were you that guy? I think that would be really fun and useful and promote the kinds of play that are beneficial to teams.
One big kind of philosophy going around right now in the community, which is a great one, is play to your play style, not the type of hero you think you want. And something along that lines would be really great to just, well, granted you can't see the enemy team now, but on your own team, you click that Sonya and it says Merc Lord, and you're just like, okay, now Sonya is going to love camps. I know this is not Brawler Sonya. This is Camp Specialist Sonya, and we can be prepared.
Yeah. Yeah, any ways to communicate that stuff. I mean, it used to be that your what is it? Was it called your pro skin? The skin that was the
master skin, yeah.
master skin.
It's
Yeah,
sad that you
I
can't
couldn't think of
remember
that.
it because
It's so long ago that I can't even remember it. Yeah, it used to be that was like, okay, guys, I'm playing a character that I know how to play. Everybody, it's all good. And I feel like we've lost a little bit of that communication in the draft of, I got this, or at least give me some indication as to what you can expect from your team of randos.
Your master skin nowadays is a stutter step to me, by the way. Just
Oh,
everyone out
interesting.
there. Yeah, you get in that middle lane and you start stutter stepping. I'm like, okay, checkbox, good.
Good to know. Good to know. Stutter step in front of Kyle, everybody.
I mean, with all this, the shooters, the Fortnites going around right now, am I insane in thinking that that's kind of a classy move, stutter stepping? It looks good, it looks okay on the field, or to other players, do I look like the jackass that won't stop jumping?
I think it's mostly the former, but a tiny bit the latter.
Yeah.
I've definitely been in games where someone is stutter stepping way more than is necessary
Yeah.
and in a ridiculous manner. And there have been times where they've been stutter stepping so much that I literally just killed them because they were like, they were impeding their own escape, and I've been like, okay, you think you're very, very good at this and you are not, but mostly it's the former.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the idea is to find the point of commitment, get in a position that's strong, and then stop stutter stepping and do maximum damage. But yes, we've all been that Vala who there's no reason not to stutter step, and
Right.
you just make a fool of yourself, perhaps.
Yeah.
In other news, Hanamura was removed from the custom games with a bit of a tale to it that the developers were kidnapped by the Mega Enforcer.
Yeah. That's fun. I like that they do that. But the real reason is a little more mysterious. I wonder if we're going to see new Hanamura very soon.
Seems like it, and we are, at least schedule-wise, way overdue for a map.
Yes, that's for sure. Yeah.
In fact,
it's felt a little like, okay, now's the time. We got it. We haven't heard any whispers of any maps. I would hope that there's a map that's even more new than just a new version of an old map. I would love to see something completely fresh and interesting, but a new Hanamura would have me intrigued for sure.
this is the first month since 2015 where there hasn't been a new hero. And this event, I think, has done a great job in keeping everybody kind of happy and moving through it. There isn't a buzz like there normally is to summon the patch notes. There's been plenty, or summon that new hero, which I think we all feel pretty satisfied about.
Yeah,
I
would definitely.
The maps are getting weird, though. In particular, Blackheart's Bay is just in a league of its own.
In league of its own in terms of you disliking it.
that's a very truthful way to put it. But more so that when I'm practicing, when I'm teaching, if I end up on Blackheart's Bay, it's a bit of a wash. We got to say, well, everybody to merc camps, everybody to managing area, do jobs you're not normally doing. Sure, double support Uther, double soak top for us. You have to make a lot of sacrifices to make a non-planned comp function on Blackheart's Bay.
Yeah. I always liked Blackheart's Bay because it felt very focused. It felt very much, there's not very many things to do. And when there are things to do, it's very clear. That's what I always liked about it. It felt like there wasn't a lot of people wandering off and being unaware of what was happening. There wasn't a lot of missed objectives. There are very few things on the map to do, and we need to do all of them.
No, that's very true. And the sort of subtlety of even giving up your first terror because it's not as important as the later minute terrors, or something even more simple, like skipping out on this curse because we're down 2 people. On Blackheart's Bay, you look at the corner, you see the math, they can't turn in, so you just avoid it. Granted, everyone learns that lesson at different rates, but...
Right. I mean, there are certainly subtleties to that map and certain frustrations. I know you have voiced many, but I always found it in a solo queue environment in the sort of lower leagues where I reside to be a pretty focused map in terms of people get it. People can wrap their heads around it. Like, okay, they have 10 coins. Chances are they're going here. Let's all go there too. oh, giant chests have appeared. Let's go to them. It feels very focused. The way the merc camps interact with the map feels much clearer than in some maps. So I don't know. I've always felt there's a level of clarity on that map in particular that felt refreshing to me.
I would love to see it modernized and perhaps removed from what a weird thought process, right? Because when we got into Zool, things started getting really specialized. And in fact, looking at some of these updates right now, particularly Diablo 16, it's types of control, not types of reduction. You're choosing how you're going to stun, how you're going to overpower, how you're going to slow people, not your stuns now decrease spell damage by X amount. And things have gotten a lot less rock, paper, scissors-y. So I'm very curious what a reworked Blackheart's Bay would look like when we remove the draft factor. Even though it wasn't made during a time of draft. That's what's so weird about it.
That's true. Yeah, it's one of the OG maps.
Well, let's get into Lunara, who is up 1.7%, up to 49. She has succeeded in a rework. She has some talent diversity, though things are starting to be figured out. Certainly, people are loving that Sentinel Wisp. That gives you a watchtower amount of sight at level 1. But Hippity Hop, the movement speed increase, seems to be actually bugged in its text and is providing 140% movement speed.
So, are people taking it instead?
They are on maps like Warhead Junction. And funnily enough, the excitement about Hippity Hop and the bans going into Ariel has led to a very big rise in Malthael and on a pale horse.
Right. On a pale horse. Right. Yeah. Interesting. So you can keep up.
Exactly. And do double rotates. And now Lunara, with her power spike now at 7, or at 4 rather than 7, has a lot of power, particularly that Nature's Culling. So people are doing Hippity Hop, double soaking, going from one lane, clearing it out quickly with 100% bonus, 150% bonus damage to non-heroes, hipping over to that next lane.
Yeah, it's interesting. I heard you talking in the last episode about just the pace at which she's able to, spread damage around, and how we've got a lot more AoE healers that are sort of in the meta, and she seems like not the top choice because of just the way that poison damage works. Has that changed at all in the since the patch went up?
There are some good choices, and it appears that Lucio did not succeed in regaining power from Stukov and Malfurion, which means Lunara has a bit stronger of a place as long as we're dealing with those busy AoE healers. Brightwing has definitely had a bit of a comeback, but Lucio, kind of Lunara's main counter, hasn't risen up yet. So it's still yet to be seen, but focusing Lunara as a wave clear assassin almost, using Thornwood Vine in conjunction with the Nature's Culling, has actually led to a very different play style than we previously run her, which is basically poison everybody and then find your target to leaping strike and burst down in that way. This is being
overwhelm them with multiple targets.
Exactly. Very much a play style when we had limited types of healers in the world. Right now, it looks like we're kind of filling an off specialist role.
Interesting. Off specialist. I love that. As specialists are being eliminated from the game, we got an off specialist.
And there's some things here that can completely turn a fight, of course, like that 75 spell armor at 13, or that abolish magic. I mean, right now it is spell armor. Everyone's doing that one because it's easier. Abolishing magic requires very quick fingers to squeeze out a semi-cleanse on an ally.
Right.
And at 16, it seems to be unfair advantage. More damage from your Nature's Toxins to slows. And then you have that Nazebo-like poison buff, intensifying toxin at 20.
Yeah, which seems really potent.
It is. And are we climbing to 20? That's a heavy investment, but we're also bringing a lane clear specialist in a way, so it seems doable.
Right.
Diablo, however, has been in transit. He is down 10%.
Oh, man, that is brutal. 10%. Woof.
Yeah, 41% win rate for him, putting him right above old Cho'Gall and Abathur at the moment.
And man, when I saw that rework, boy, I had it all wrong because it did not feel like a nerf to me. But evidently, it is. This is either that or just people haven't wrapped their head around how his new playstyle is supposed to work.
Well, and that kind of seems to be the thing. If you haven't previously played Diablo, you're going to feel great, and you're going to feel like a regen tank, and you're going to love him. Enjoy him right now. Everybody, get on Diablo if you never played him. But if you have played a lot of Diablo before, your eyes are horribly trained. You are always flame stomping with your mouse in some random direction. Your shotgun goes the other way. You are probably ruining your own combo, because if you put out your flame stomp and then charge, those flames go past the character, and then you do the overpower to flop them over, and the flames return to you now that you have them on the other side. So triple damage flames do not even touch when you do the old version of the Diablo combo.
Right.
Also, Devastate Charge as a percent base is gone. And I know I laid into Chen's and Johanna's, and the second I saw that level 13 hit, I was like, ooh, here we go, power spike into the 10, and just nothing. Felt great into Jaina. Jaina exploded, but Jaina's gonna explode anyway. So one benefit to the lack of pure damage on your level 13 Devastate Charges, it now does function against mercs and all neutral units, not just heroes. And it benefits from spell power and negative armor.
That's good.
So when we look at Diablo's kind of new play style, what we're actually seeing is maybe a regen tank with a very obvious combo into Lightning Breath. If you overpower someone, they are in melee. You drop a Lightning Breath on top of them, and you are guaranteed, thanks to the stacking slow, 4 seconds of Lightning Breath connection. Which is 4 seconds, 50% slowed, taking pretty decent damage. And that seems to be the type of engagement we need to do.
Man, I'm loath to give up my fun Apocalypse, though. I love Apocalypse.
Apocalypse is great, and your old combo still exists of doing your Shadow Charge, them off the pad, overpower back on, and then the Apocalypse goes off.
Right.
And you can play that style, and that's basically classic Charge Diablo. You take Sacrificial Soul at 4. So when you actually start looking at the talent power spikes and the stacking of the particular talents, you actually choose your playstyle at 4 between like a soft control-y, spell damage, soul to the flames, lightning breath build, where you're going to be enhancing your spell damage to get that lightning breath even higher. You've got a classic Diablo charge style with sacrificial soul that gives you back that armor, and then a bruiser Diablo with life leech. And if you think against the enemy team, you can just routinely stay connected. That'll be a lot of souls and actually a lot of damage.
So you think that life leech is actually viable, huh?
Only if you're staying connected, right?
Yeah.
You are doing your own health as healing now rather than healing based on the damage you deal. And I believe you don't do any bonus damage at all. Yeah, you just get some souls, some maximum health back.
Yeah, I always feel like life leech is one of those trap talents that just doesn't really help. But it's interesting. If you can stay sticky on them and just keep in it, maybe it will yield some results.
You also have Diabolic Momentum on the next level, that every time you auto attack, you decrease your basic cooldowns. And that includes your Fire Stomp now again as well, after previous nerfs.
So you're getting souls constantly.
Exactly. And this is about weaving, which is something we haven't really talked about here because we talk about stutter step, and I want you to focus on that part. I want you to be positioned well. But weaving is the idea that between all your spells, you're getting out that auto attack. And in particular, if you've ever watched high-level Thrall play, Thrall has a horrible animation. He's very lazy. He takes his legendary hammer and goes, "Huh!" But it's only the "huh" at the beginning that does the damage. So when you watch these guys stutter step in pro play, they're kind of having spasms out on the field, and their Thrall will kind of do this little fit hit, and then start moving again and lightning, and then do another little fit hit. That sort of playstyle will benefit you greatly with new Diablo.
Interesting.
If you go these auto attack talents.
Right.
So it's yet to be seen. Be careful out there, though, by the way, everybody. The most popular talent at the moment seems to be Feast on Fear. The level 1 talent, whenever you land a stun of Overpower or Shadow Charge, you get 15% of your max health over 4 seconds. This doesn't stack, sadly. If you do 2 stuns in a row, which you probably will do with a charge and Overpower, all you do is refresh the 4-second duration.
That does seem like a powerful talent. You're saying it not so much?
No, because you're going so you got 15 over 4 seconds. So you hit that first stun, and immediately you're going to slam over your head and get that second stun. And so you're probably getting maybe a 4.5 second 15% heal. You know, more healing than 15%, 17%, or whatever the math equals.
Yeah. But again, it's over 4 seconds, so it takes a while, and you're in the mix at that point.
Exactly. Devil's Due is still just great. So I'm really excited about a lot of people getting into Diablo, but this win rate is not fantastic. And for now, there is some numbers adjustments to be made, sure. I personally blame my awful play style and muscle memory that has encouraged me to play Diablo so poorly.
Yeah. I blame the sequin underpants.
It's
the new skins.
It's too hot, man. Everyone's in there, you know, whether they play Diablo or not.
You gotta love them.
There have been some tier lists cropping up already. Now, we are pretty soon after this. We got 2 days really total, since we had this balance patch to get that down 10% Diablo. But his ripples are being felt throughout the Nexus, and Leoric and Tychus both jump up in win rates, with Diablo, the main tank smasher, losing his power.
You gotta love that, right? Those are your two of your favorites.
I am very excited. I've been playing a lot of Tychus this week. He is doing fantastic. There's a lot of people who don't know what I'm doing. I'm cheating at the moment. They just simply don't disengage when they should. This is kind of that old problem of you activate a timed ability or a gargantuan on Nazebo and everyone stands it and you kind of go, well, we could all just leave and come back after it's over. You know,
Right.
I overkill. I do my minigun and you can just walk away while I'm doing those things.
Right.
But you didn't.
No,
I won.
Let's fight through the bloodlust, guys.
Exactly. We can do it. We've all been there, right? We've all said, the Arthas is going down. Get him. Yeah. And he doesn't die. It's ongoing. Speaking, actually, offhandedly of Arthas there, accidentally, he is now the #1 win rate tank.
Wow. I do not see any Arthases in my games.
No, Arthas is a very clunky, slow, and Roots are very dangerous in the lower leagues because you're removing their other option. They want to attack you and run away. Those are the two things low leaguers want to do.
Right.
And when you tell them they can't run away, they usually attack your face and it hurts and you die.
Yeah.
So Roots can be very misleading. Deckard, though, I think the thing is the triangle's just so big, maybe so new, that every time someone gets stuck in a triangle, they just panic and flail their arms about. Whereas maybe Arthas has been in the game long enough, we're like, oh, Lich King, you're underpowered anyway. Come on, I can take you.
Yeah, totally.
Everyone beats you up in a video.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like getting stuck in a zombie wall, you know, people just like, freaking out.
Yeah, I do it too. It's tough not to. You got to attack that. And there is actually a little bit of a auto attack bug at the moment in the game. So be careful about that. You are prioritizing heroes higher than the thing closest to you. And it's made auto attacking, stutter stepping minions, zombie walls very, very difficult. But Arthas here is up 4 full percent, and Johanna is climbing right behind him at 3.7%. So it appears that, you know, we talked about Johanna earlier. That's a strategy that existed before this Diablo rework happened. But it may have been that Diablo is actually keeping these other off main tanks from being a force.
Interesting. I remember Johanna used to be top tank, man. And it's kind of fun to see her come back a little bit.
It could also be a artifact of Laws of Hope, that with our supports losing some power recently, taking care of yourself on tank, being unstoppable, there's a lot of benefits there.
Yeah.
Plus, Johannas are a passionate bunch, I find. They always love playing Johanna. It's a very maney kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I also find Johannas to be easily tilted with their blinds. I feel like you got to be connected. It's an important thing about blinds. If I'm not attacking you, don't blind me. I'm not doing anything. Not Johanna's will always be like, huh, and just blind some Vala walking through the woods, not doing anything.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're always just blinding people and then not following up with anything. Just like, hey, I can do this.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna.
Yeah, Thrall, you're 20 feet away from me. Don't hit me.
Yeah.
I'll wait till he's in melee range. Sonya, Dahaka have also climbed. This is also speaking to maybe the double tank Diablo position. And Garrosh climbed as well, but not as much as Arthas and Johanna. Garrosh is up 1.5.
Yeah. And he's got that sweet skin too, so probably more Garrosh coming.
Yeah, that's a interesting point to make, actually. During a sweet skin time period, Garrosh climbs, which maybe speaks to his power, ease of play, maybe.
Yeah.
One of the oddballs here is Falstad, who is very explosive, absolutely made of paper, and Diablo may have been keeping him down as well. But no Malthael. Malthael actually falls this week.
Interesting. I wonder why that is.
Maybe other people are doing his job. We talked about Lunara there, and if Malthael is being used for multi-soak with a speed boost, could just be Lunara's taking the position.
Yeah, maybe. It feels like though with all these Arthuses and Johannas just sticking around and being slow in the front there, Malthael might have some just gimme damage that he's willing to soak up.
That's true. The changeover to Last Rites could mean Malthael with two other tanks kind of coming in outside of Diablo who reses, having lots of effect. The problem is you got blinds on one of them, which are awful for Malthael because you always assume you got the hit and then you have no teleport to reposition.
Right.
And then, of course, Arthas, who is just crushing anybody in melee range, in particular his Icy Talons attack speed increase. If you hang out in that aura for too long, the freeze that follows up, there's just a lot of good reasons to not hang out in melee versus Arthas.
Interesting.
Ariel also climbed to #1 support.
Wow. Look at that. From worst to first.
Yeah, it seems to be due to her advanced self-hope abilities now that she's regained those over patches.
That's cool. I know you're always a big fan of Ariel. Are you happy to see that? I mean, we're going to see more, batteries for her, more, back to Vala's and Zul'Jin's.
We're already seeing Zul'Jin. Zul'Jin right now is the top win rate hero. Maybe alongside Vala, maybe due to less dive with Diablo Greymane not hanging out, which kind of mess him up from time to time. But
yeah, and I feel like people who play Zul'Jin really know how to play Zul'Jin. I don't feel like there's a lot of dabblers with Zul'Jin.
No, there are a few of us, and we love it.
Yeah.
I think we're very auditory people. I'd be curious to know if, because the kit's not thrilling. The look is fun because I was a World of Warcraft troll, but it
sounds like one of those self-help books. I was a World of Warcraft troll.
Dancing on that mailbox every day, I needed help. But it's all that sound. It's all the drums and the axe throws.
Right.
But maybe alongside Ariel, he's got a place. The other ones are Zul, Gazlo, and Kerrigan taking up the other top spots. Kerrigan, of course, has been in that top for a while since Malthael lost it with that AoE, the team fight ability of Kerrigan in Hero League. Zul's an odd one, but there is a new cheese strategy rolling around right now where you run globals. You run maybe a Planet Cracker, Kel'Thuzad, a Nova, and whatever Zul bone prisons, you just
blow it up.
Yep, no matter where you are in the map.
There you go.
Could be. It could be that one.
I think it's so interesting that these four heroes are at the top. I just feel like there's maybe they're benefiting from a very small player base playing those heroes, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, you are right that the pick numbers are pretty low. We go from something like Lili at 41% of games to 9% for Zul'Jin, 4% for Zul.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it self-selects for people that are really into those characters.
The interesting thing about the tier list rolling out right now is they have very little to do with what I just talked about, which is our facts as we know them on Hot Slugs, which are decently accurate, but we always need to be careful of that fact. Mm-hmm. They still love Hanzo, and Hanzo is the 5th lowest hero in the video game at 41%, 0.6% above Diablo.
It's interesting. Everybody loves Hanzo, though. You can't turn off the Hanzo love.
Have you noticed a change? I felt like in Silver we didn't see any Hanzos that you were fighting.
Yeah, no, that definitely has changed. I see a lot more Hanzos now. I see more Hanzos than Genjis.
I believe it.
Yeah.
From a playstyle kind of thing.
Right.
It's nice to be safe. It's nice to participate a lot.
Yeah, and I think people love the vision arrow. I think people it helps. It makes you feel a little safer all the time. And Genji just gets himself into trouble in my leagues, you know?
That's true. And keeping account of all of those CCs is very difficult, which is ultimately what's going to kill a Genji in the end. We're actually, I mean, as Hanzo's going down, there's an interesting ripple into Chromie, whose win rate continues to go up the further Hanzo falls. Almost the new version, if you will. And they're running Time Walker Pursuit to kind of give them that sight arrow.
Yeah. Yeah, which is a talent you turned me on to, and one I've enjoyed using very much when I play Chromie. It's useful to line up those shots and get the drop on people that think they're safe. Lots of Chromies in my games. Lots of Chromies.
Have you seen a reaction to them, or what does the people say?
I mean, you see a lot of dive to get back to her. You know, you see people love to play stuff like stitches to just yank her out of her. You know, when she's lining up a dragon breath or something, just yank her out of that. So yeah, people are trying to deal with the range, which I guess we're not going to have to deal with quite as much after she gets her little adjustments, which are coming up.
Yeah, seems like they're going to rein that in and give her some gameplay adjustments to make sure she moves a little more fluid.
Yeah.
If you are interested in the pro high tier playlists, they are as follows: Genji, Malfurion, Blaze, Diablo, Maiev, Phoenix, Garrosh, Hanzo, Deckard, ETC, and Sonya. Any of those guys catch you as off guard?
I was a little surprised that Maiev is still that high. I felt like she got nerfed into falling out of that. But I mean, I think in HGC we were still seeing a lot of Maiev. I love that Deckard is just appeared on the scene as the top. Well, not that I guess we got Malfurion above Deckard, but I like that Deckard is that impactful as a healer. I didn't expect that, to be honest.
No, and it seems to be his Lily-like qualities of just living really, really hard when he gets targeted.
Right, yeah. Just don't die.
Have you gotten on the Deckard train?
I haven't. No, I'm always like one character behind. So I'm just getting into Phoenix right now. I tend to let all of the fervor around characters lie down a little bit, and then I'm able to get into games and not have such long queue times for quick match, for example.
Yeah, no, probably healthy. And also you don't have to deal with the adjustments that you receive in that 2-week period that would change what you were doing.
The bad part of that is that usually that's the period where they're most OP.
Yeah.
So I'm like missing out on all that fun, but
it's not a good learning environment. So
right.
You're doing yourself a service. It is interesting to see Deckard, though, in that top spot, because he does, on the surface, seem so easy and clunky.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes down to spamming. You know, if you're an old Sylvanas player, a Malthael, and you enjoy hitting buttons as often as possible, you'll probably make a pretty good Deckard, which is why I think he's performing well in all leagues.
Keep tossing those potions.
Don't stop. And
always be tossing.
Always be tossing. There was a big change to the chests after they were released, a business change even. There was an equal likelihood that the Nexus chest would contain a Suns Out, Guns Out item, as well as a Nexomania. And they went through and they changed that so that you have a much higher likelihood to get Nexomania chests. And they also, if you bought them before this change was made, rewarded you with the same exact number of chests. Now, you had to buy them with real money to get that second copy of your chest, but a good show of faith.
Yeah, I think that's nice. And I love the design of those Nexomania chests, man. It's just ridiculous.
It is. I think it lends itself well to the fun.
Yeah, for sure.
They also said going forward that they're going to make sure that these bundles are separated out a little more and that you'll be able to get the individual skins easier.
You mean to purchase them just as standalone skins?
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. Sometimes it feels a little unfair to strap in the skin you want into a large bundle of stuff that you don't really care about.
It's tough when you can only play one hero per game.
Yeah, right. I mean, when I can finally play 5 heroes at once, I'll be so much happier.
There we go, multi-boxing.
There you go.
I always wanted to try that in World of Warcraft someday.
I had friends that did it, and I just couldn't understand. It just felt like work. I'm like, I want to play a video game. I don't want to go to job a video game.
Yeah. I worked in data entry for a bit, and that dream died. Working that
Yeah,
hard to play video games.
totally.
There is a bit of esports news that's been circling around, and it involved Here's the Storm, actually, from the Fortnite sphere. Or Fort, if you're just being cool and a kid.
I like saying fork knife.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. But they don't winner chicken dinner, so I guess the theme is it
Right.
stops there.
Yeah, that's true.
Epic, the company that made Fortnite, announced that they have a $100 million prize pool, which led lots of people to go research all the other various esports titles out there. And of the top 16 in 2017, the total of money that was given during these events was just above $1 million total.
100 million.
100 million, yes, pardon me.
Yeah. Yeah, so they basically said in one calendar year, we are going to give as much money in prize winnings as the next 16 games total. It's like, adi.
Yeah.
You are making lots of money, Fortnite. You are making lots of money right now.
I'm not sure how. I mean, I know that it's the pass thing they do with the unlockables, and it seems to just be the best version of what loot boxes tried to be.
Yeah. Yes, they are doing very smart things, and they're doing a lot of very smart things, and they have the added benefit of being the new hotness that everybody is talking about. I mean, it is a cultural phenomenon that doesn't happen very often. I mean, as big as Dota and League of Legends, and there's a lot of, I mean, CSGO, there's a lot of games that are huge, but that didn't break through that next threshold of being, talked about by Major League Baseball players, and there's mainstream stories that aren't really even about video games deal with Fortnite. It's just become this phenomenon, and I think that explains why you get $100 million to just toss around in prize money.
I mean, the Thanos tie-in was shocking, spectacular in its speed.
And well done. Like
Yeah.
it didn't seem slapped together. It didn't seem exploitive. It felt really fun and well executed. I mean, they are working on all cylinders right now, and kudos to them. And I think, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Fortnite as an esport that I get excited about. I'm into Heroes of the Storm and others, but I think this will have a trickle-down effect in just raising the stakes of all esports and raising the specter of esports and making it, a rising tide raises all boats. And I think $100 million tide is pretty big.
And you may be wondering, what's this got to do with Heroes? Well, in the research that folks did, particularly Rizzo Tim on Twitter, he found out that the fourth highest globally is Heroes of the Storm, followed by Hearthstone, Overwatch, and StarCraft at about $1 million less per year each. Heroes of the Storm has a massive amount of money behind it in comparison to most other esports.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool and encouraging. And if that news gets out, if that word gets out, maybe that can bolster Heroes of the Storm even further. It's a really interesting statistic that this Rizzo Tim came up with. I mean, you see Dota at the top by a large margin, and that's because of the international. I mean, the way they have gamified the prize pool is pretty brilliant, and I think accounts for a lot of that. It's not like Valve is putting up all that money. It's that they've, gamified that buy-in. So there's a big delta between first place and everybody else. Well, the new first place, I guess, is Fortnite, but you know what I mean. But the fact that Heroes is hanging tough right there in fourth place is pretty big, ahead of some real big games, ahead of Overwatch, ahead of Call of Duty, ahead of a lot of real sort of top tier, what you would expect, games that have been around a lot longer than Heroes of the Storm as well.
It's a complicated system, but if you've never read the original posts where they launched Heroes Esports as it is now, look those up. Look up the income. It's consistent. You are employed, basically, when you play Heroes of the Storm Esports. You're not battling. You're not flying out to Chicago to compete in some random tournament every weekend for MLG. You are dedicated to the HGC, and that is a feat.
Yeah. And I think is to the credit of Blizzard understanding that if they want people to be serious about their game, they have to be serious about letting people make it their living. And it can't be a hobby that you just monetize. It really does have to be a professional event that is handled professionally. I think they've understood that with Overwatch and Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm. And I think that's very smart and will only reap benefits for those games long term.
Well, and paying a retainer fee like this has done amazing things for the legitimacy of the money exchange. In
Yeah.
StarCraft, when you awarded money to an organization, there was about a 50% chance that that money would even make it to the player because it's just a
Right.
lump sum dropped in the lap of some organizer
Yeah.
and they might disperse it. But with this Heroes of the Storm system, that money's routinely just going straight like a paycheck out to those players.
And there's a lot of question marks as to how Epic's going to handle this big $100 million lump amount of cash over the year. We don't know how those even events will work, how that money will be divvied up over how many events and what the point system will be. A lot of question marks, but I do think it will end up benefiting all the other esports and hopefully our game as well.
It's fascinating that we are above Hearthstone and Overwatch, which do have a very, looking from the outside anyway, tough ride, particularly Overwatch League. That's a lot of auditions to get on a team there.
I would never have guessed that. And the other interesting stat here is not just the money. The money is lower than in Heroes of the Storm, but it's also divvied out by what? Well, almost 10 times the number of tournaments.
Yeah.
It's like there's only 31 tournaments in the Heroes of the Storm prize pool, and Overwatch has 260 almost. That is, so the amount of money you're making per event is much higher too. So it's a really interesting breakdown of all that data.
And it speaks maybe to the player size. You know, of course, Hearthstone, it makes sense. There's just more money for 5 players versus 1v1s. But this is also as a now, what would it be even? 7-year veteran of watching esports and following it news-wise. This can be a little scary as there's a lot of vultures that tend to circle around when things get this profitable.
Yeah, that is true. And mo money, mo problems a lot of times, and then you get scandal, you get people abusing things, you get these kinds of the fun gets, let's say, de-emphasized when the amount of money becomes real serious.
It's interesting too, the exchange that's happening with the pro players right now. Because to them, this isn't enough, and that's fine. That's their profession. It's your life. Of course, it's never enough. You always want more. They want this amount to be bigger for Heroes of the Storm so that they can encourage their pro player friends in other games to come over to our game.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I get it. And maybe this, just seeing it out in black and white like this, maybe that will have a positive effect.
And these are all, as you said, interwoven. Our success in Heroes of the Storm adds to Overwatch's success. Hearthstone, as long as Overwatch is successful, you might even see Heroes of the Storm esports go past a point of sustainability just because it's a company move. They're showing their willingness to continue to foster an esports for their game at Blizzard.
Yeah, and I think the way that Blizzard has done it, particularly with Overwatch, but across all their games really, in being very serious about it, treating it with respect and building a facility and building out studios and commentators and really approaching it like a professional sport. I think that's going to have a positive effect for just the way esports in general are perceived, that the entire industry should thank Blizzard for, because I think, MLG and a lot of these other e-leagues are not shirking from that responsibility, but I think Blizzard is really leading the way on just a level of quality and presentation.
And that's advancing too. Look at the launcher right now with this big old Sweden hat. It's peaceful. It's kind of a view of the sailboats. but it has an exoticness to it that makes you want to visit the place. And while that seems minor, it really is a big deal that they are making custom art assets to promote their upcoming tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, they're serious about it, and it shows, and it's good.
Now, let's head into strategy. And so when you were last here, I believe, you mentioned you want to talk a little bit about how to shot call for a team.
Yeah, I think that is a skill that is pretty ephemeral for certainly a lot of people at my skill level. And when I hear you do it, particularly when we're on our coaching sessions, oftentimes you and I will just play games together, and you are so effective at it, and you seem to not only is it about communicating well, it's knowing what to communicate and when. And I'm always so impressed, particularly, I brought this up earlier in the episode, particularly the games we played this week, where I felt like it really was knowing what to prioritize and when that pulled us from a loss into a win.
Well, I appreciate that. But it was also the great play of our fellow teammates, too, who listened to those shot calls. And that's something we're not going to have. Shot calling is a process on top of everything else. You are being a one-man band. You are not just playing in the guitar, you're doing the singing. And also your foot is maybe working the drums, and you got 2 tambourines between your knees. You need a very strong default setting if you are going to shot call. And for me, I have found that doesn't work in a solo lane at all. You're way too busy managing that Cassia, Sonya, whatever it is you got to match up. Even if it's not an effective meta matchup, you're still going to be busy down there, and your eyes are trained. Also, you're making calls to people you don't know and who haven't seen you play since the game began.
So you're saying if you plan to be the shot caller, if you want to step up into that role, know that far enough ahead of time so that you're not drafting yourself into the role of the solo laner.
Correct. You can be the merc guy. I find it more powerful to find that element on your team rather than making that your default setting, because mercs aren't always a good choice, and they're not always well timed out, and they're not well utilized by the rest of the team. Someone might keep pushing with that merc camp while you're trying to draw the team away from the objective. People might not count the mini-map when someone's up there in the first place, and the whole bonus of running that merc in the first place didn't happen.
Right. That makes sense.
So think about what you care about and make sure that your character that you pick kind of embodies that. My favorite is these roamers. The roamer off tank, off supports, maybe even something like a Tychus. It can handle the solo lane. Diablo can handle a solo lane, maybe not so much anymore now that the Flame Stomp nerf came in. You can take that over. One of the most powerful things you can do is replace somebody's job because they know exactly what the exchange is. So here's an example. Your solo lane, Sonya, goes top. One of the most powerful things you can do is know that at 50 seconds, merc camps come online and that you will relieve her of duty. And you say, Sonya, I have your lane, go do merc camps. You go visit. She doesn't respond. She's not on voice. Okay, well, you visited the lane. Maybe you got a gank, maybe you help push it out a little bit, and you go somewhere else. The difference here would be you being the Sonya saying, I'm off to merc, and then the lane goes unsoaked.
Right. Yeah. You lose a far less in the first example than the second.
Exactly. So that would be, if you're a merc kind of guy, a merc-minded person, that would be how you can employ those ideas that you enjoy, the strategy you like to win with, in conjunction with solo queue people. And this goes the same for wombo combos. One of the best things you can do as a shot caller is identify who puts out their ability first. Follow up the variant stun. Let's let Thrall make the engagement after Diablo goes in. Just simple kind of phrases like this, particularly something like Earthquake, something like Hyperion that can be fought inside of. It's great, no matter what your league, let that guy make the decision. Great call to action. One thing that we talk about is, follow a idea, even if it's a bad idea. Let's change that wording a little bit for when we talk about shot calling and instead say, respect the investments that are already made. If 3 people are attacking a merc camp and you want to get to that objective, guess what we're doing? We're attacking a merc camp.
Yeah.
to motivate everybody off of that merc camp to another plan takes way too much time.
Just get it done.
In fact, something that I've been sharing with you over coaching sessions recently is a bit of an evolution of this thought process, very valuable in lower leagues. At level 16, death timers will get up to 45 seconds. That is when you can win a game if you're golden below. You need 15 seconds to fart around and argue, and 30 seconds to actually take the keep. As you go up in leagues, you can put that to level 13 when it's about 30 seconds, because we're only going to spend 5 seconds arguing, maybe less, because we all know the right thing to do in that example.
It's 15 seconds to convince people to do the right thing, and then 30 seconds to do it.
About, right? You got to get everybody mobilized. You got to get that last person rezzed up. Whatever's happening in that fight, there's going to be some argument as to what needs to be done. And if you're winning, it feels good. And particularly I think if you come from other MOBAs, there's a habit of saying, ooh, this game feels nice. I want to make it last as long as possible. And that's why people love defending.
Right.
I
It
think
drives me nuts. Let's take the final keep there on the bottom lane instead of just marching through that open top lane and winning the video game.
I mean, catapults are great, but winning right now is more effective too.
Yeah.
And using that rule, in all honesty, it's a nice little joke. They can't get organized in time. But seriously, don't try to win before 16 if you're below that level. If you got Sylvanas, if everything's gelled, there's always going to be that game where Garrett knows to throw your diva bomb and everybody's having a great time on Earth. Don't assume that.
Right.
This even happens before the draft. You gotta participate. How many shot callers have all of us seen start talking up when things go bad?
Mm-hmm.
Got to be active in the draft. Use your on your way pings. Just make sure the communication is always flowing out, and keep the comms fun. Like, if someone's being ridiculous, laugh in their face. I'm dead serious. Like, make sure that this is a fun area, and if it's gone too much, use the Star Wars line. Cut the chatter. It's very simple. It can hurt. It can sting people a little bit, but these comms are very effective tools that have to be clear so we can communicate. And arguing about the draft that happened 10 minutes ago is not useful anymore.
Yeah. Now, what about the situation where you are the only one talking? Do you still feel comfortable continuing that if no one's responding? But people are kind of, doing the things you're calling, the shots you're calling. It's working, but it's dead silent other than your periodic instruction. Are you still comfortable in that situation?
And in this scenario, they're listening. I see them in voice chat. They're just not talking.
Yeah.
That is fine by me.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And I think there's what is it? Objects in motion tend to stay in motion. Objects that aren't, it feels like, well, if nobody's talking, I don't want to be the one barking orders at everybody. But I feel like that is something we should resist, because it is useful to be the one who's communicating.
And in that same sort of idea, make sure you find those corrections at 10. And that's really, really important. 10, everybody's going to get a power spike. It's always quite powerful. It's not, I got to get to 13 because I'm this certain character. We're not dealing with that. Everybody gets some sort of heroic that's going to enhance their power. Make sure after that first 10 fight, if it doesn't go well, analyze it. Let people know what you want to change, because you're going to hit that 13 mark in the higher leagues where you're going to lose, 16 very soon where you can absolutely lose. Those puzzles have to be communicated about.
Right. And
for me, it's dead silence unless it's good. So it's very catch them while they're doing the good thing. It's like training a dog, in all honesty. And you want to be there right with the clicker, right when the good thing happens. And if you missed it, you let it go. Maybe you talk about it at the end. Oh, that was such a good earthquake. Oh my, great play. What a great exchange you could have there in that moment. But when things go bad, let it by. There's something more important you could be communicating. And it could be, let's try getting X to the back line. And then when they do that for you, you reward them. You can't give them treats. You can't give them shards. There's nothing you can actually physically or digitally reward them with. But it feels good to have someone suggest a strategy. You go out of your way to enact on that strategy. Give it a reward. Say, awesome job.
Yeah. And I think I want to add, if anybody is listening to this that doesn't watch Kyle's streams, I think you will gain so much insight into how to effectively shot call just by listening to him do it. And I think you do such a great job, Kyle, of sort of speaking your subtext aloud, talking your thought process as you go. I'm struck when you say things like, well, we're not, we could take that Mercat, but we're not going to do that right now because it looks like two of them are about to be back up. So we're going to go, you talk through the thought process, which I think is so illustrative in understanding why you make a certain call at a certain time.
By the way, if anyone out there wants to catch these coaching sessions, they are at 3 p.m. on Wednesdays Pacific time over at caffeine.tv/Jeff Kanata.
Yeah, they're good fun, and I'm learning so much, and I think they're very useful.
If you're uncomfortable with this sort of thought process, with having a strong default setting, that's what we need to go back to right now, is you got to be playing good while you're shot calling, because it's not going to be worth anything if you're at half and yet you're giving out advice.
Right.
Work on that passive play you have and make sure it is actually being effective while you're shot calling. The first thing you should do before making up sweet plans, how we're going to change anything, is get on the comms and help your team count to 5. It's so important. Help them out. Watch that mini map. So-and-so's missing. We only see 3. You can ping the top bar. You can participate in this without even saying a word. All you gotta do is ping the top bar, and it'll give a ping on the map if they're visible. And if they're not, it'll say so-and-so is missing. And that participation is so useful because all of us get busy in our solo lanes. All of us get caught up chasing Deckard. And that's an idea that we can't stop. We can't stop the Deckard chase. They're going to keep chasing. That investment is made. What we can do, however, is make sure they're chasing with good information.
Right. So good.
And watch out for those 10s. Really, really, if you are a shot caller, if you are able to build that rapport over the course of a game, watch for that 13-16 mark where those death timers get long enough and start making some strong choices. And in that way, avoid the boss for the most part until that 13 mark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tempting to try to force it early, but not so much.
They come up fast and they come back strong.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you would add in your experience of Hero League and to helping your team shot call?
That's a great question. I would say, I think the positivity is great. As you say, sort of being able to play your game and also point out the good stuff that other people are doing, I think wins people over, builds that camaraderie. But I think for me, the biggest thing is knowing what shots to call. Knowing, now is the time. Knowing that 50-second mark let's have somebody on that Merc camp and rotate into that lane and keep the soak, and like all of those nitty-gritty things are so huge and come from experience and from watching good players play. And I think just that knowledge level and understanding that you have the right shot to call is a pretty big step.
You'll see this language a lot in World of Warcraft players. Often they're joking, but we're all a little serious about it. I tank because I don't trust anybody else to tank. Or I heal because I don't think anyone else can do it as good as I do. Find that job for yourself if you don't want to take up this shot calling role. That's one of the best things you can do. Double down on a lane clear. Get yourself a Blaze. Get yourself a Gul'dan. Just be able to take that job that you see go completely undone in your league.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you're going to have a very active participation in the map. People will see you going around constantly getting business done. And once you become comfortable with that, you'll start to be able to talk over it. And soon you'll be a streamer. You'll just start streaming because now you're already talking all the time. You might as well talk while you play video games to other people.
It is a skill, that's for sure.
It's easy to assume it can just be turned on. But when we started this show, I hadn't done any streaming. And Garrett was like, Kyle, what should I be doing? I'm like, I'm controlling my own character.
Yeah. I'm working over here on my thing.
What do you want from me?
Yeah.
Well, let's take an email before we head out. And this is a fantastic email name given this week's event. Ultra Bueno writes in. Gosh, I'm trying to get wins to get those. Man, win quests are brutal. They always are.
Yeah.
Trying to unlock my guapo, but oh man, every time quick match turns into such a dirty knife fight.
Everybody wants those guapos.
Hey, he's good. He's good. He writes in and saying that he was wondering if we had any thoughts on practice routines. He plays with a group of guys, about 10, trading in and out, about 3 to 5 nights a week. Growing up in organized sports, Ultra Bueno understood that playing the game well, you need to break it into parts and practice those smaller parts over and over. How can we, as a team, break HOTS down and practice those smaller parts together? Or do you have any ideas for a weekly practice routine that could be both fun and helpful?
This is a great question. It's not something that really I have much insight into because I don't tend to play with the same group of people over and over. I know you do, and for me, it's just volume. It's just get the games in and keep at it and keep playing. But I feel like there are. I mean, I know you have run drills with me in our coaching session, so I suspect you've got some more specific recommendations.
Right, and those drills are, I show you the door, you have to walk through it kind of moments, which are always bittersweet. It's great to learn that totally new sweet Chromie build. It's great to understand how Diablo combos, but I'm going to leave you at the end of the day, and now you have to go home and practice that thing over and over again to make sure it's executable. Even more so if it's a Diablo combo that needs your level 10, because you're going to have to play 7 minutes a game before you even start practicing on a 100-second cooldown.
Yeah.
So good luck with that. There are training maps in this game. There is a version of Cursed Hollow and of Volskaya where you can reset cooldowns. And in particular, if you're running very wombo combi ult-based things, that's a great way to get everybody on the same page. Lay out some target dummies. Have at your combos over and over again as much as you need to. I find, though, that when you're playing with an organized group, it's more about finding the rhythm. And since you're playing with such a large group of people trading in and out throughout the week, identify your players. Do like a human resource exercise, honestly. Write down what you think each player is good at and divide them up. And just give them that job. And it'll make everything so much smoother when you finally sit down and say, you're always top lane. You're always bottom. Granted, it's based on the Merc camps and my Sonya goes top lane on Cursed Hollow, but goes bottom lane on Infernal Shrines. You know, these things are going to be a little messy, but you need to figure that out for yourself.
Yeah, and specialization in that sense makes it, it's the shortest distance between 2 points, right? Because your team isn't practicing 1,000 things; they're practicing the thing they do best and focused on that.
It's often called like cheese when you do something really over coordinated. But that's all pros do. They're just both kind of cheesing in each other's faces, so I guess it looks normal.
Yeah, exactly.
But don't be afraid to really practice those things up. I mean, between doing your exchanges is who's getting the lanes, your next big step is getting back to those lanes after the first objective. Have that iron out. Those two players are really important. And as we talked about earlier, if one of them is the Mercer, you can relieve them of duty. Just make sure those lanes get covered as soon as things are ready. And in that same vein, an objective ends, let's not spin around forever. When we kill the enemy, we need to make sure that next thing is rehearsed, that we're ready to go towards that next idea.
Right.
One of the real big things is dependent on what sort of comps you run. And you need to take a look at your win conditions. Now, HGC just put out a pretty good video about this. It wasn't really necessarily about Hero League topics. It's more about team-based thing. But take, for example, let's do a small team. Let's imagine the game's 2v2. And you got Garrett, Malthael. And yeah, you kick butt in team fights, but what happens when you reach a wall? You do no bonus damage on Malthael. Garrett is darn right awful at it. So when you're making that choice, you'd go take a Merc camp and then do the wall. And make sure you actually have the power to do what you're trying to do. And we call this a win condition because that's the most obvious time. You won the game. You did the thing that had the most effectiveness. You won. And that's why we talk about win conditions. We could also talk about just effective Merc conditions or effectiveness of your move while the enemy is dead.
Sort of the now what?
Yeah, very much so. But there is a bit of a wall to this conversation, and And you've done a lot of traditional theater as well.
Hmm.
When you go in for the night and you're going to play, night number 5, and, well, actually, he's got a name. He's got tons of lines. You're all ready to go for night number 5 with a great name and a great cast. And they walk up to you and they say, "Oh, man, I got here first. I'm night number 5. You can be the king tonight." And they just switch scrolls with you. It's great to make like music analogies and sports analogies for heroes, but those games just don't mess with you. Like, here's the Storm Wheel. You don't ban out the trombone section and now that guy has to play violin all night.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah, we're removing your role from the play. Good luck. Do something else.
So,
Yeah.
so how, as someone who had to like actually do a lot of practicing, a lot of memorization, how has heroes and getting better at it actually climb? Like, you have 100% increased your skills dramatically over our coaching sessions.
Yeah.
How has that practice felt in compared to something like sports?
Oh, I think it's very analogous. I mean, I feel like there are, um, and it is a cliche how simple it is in the sense that repetition and practice, right? But it's practice with the right mindset. It's practice knowing a goal ahead of time. It's practice understanding what you're seeing and contextualizing what you're seeing, right? It's not just rote repetition, it's repetition in context. And that marriage of the motor skills and the interpretation and the information processing, like anything, like doing a play, you can learn all the lines and know all the lines by rote, but then you get on the stage and you got to make them sound believable. It's not just rote recitation. You got to be inside the experience and be listening and being aware and all that stuff. So in the same way, these games, you have to be able to, like you said, demonstrate your stutter stepping, demonstrate your ability to execute on certain things, but do it within the awareness of, oh, what's that guy doing? What's the other guy doing? I talk about it a lot on my other podcast about concentric circles of awareness. As you learn more about a game, you start with this very tight circle around yourself and you go, okay, who am I? What am I doing? Am I here to heal you? Am I here to give damage to the other team? What am I doing? Oh, what do my skills do? How do they relate to each other? What do the talents do that affects the skills? So it's a very tight concentric circle. Who am I? What am I doing? Then you expand the circle and go, okay, what am I doing in this place? What does the map need from me? Where do I go? Then you expand the circle even larger. Okay, what are my teammates doing in this place? Where are they going to go? Where are they now? Where should they be? Where can I expect them to go? Then you expand the circle out even farther. And what is the enemy doing? And what are the enemy's talents? And what kinds of things should I expect the enemy to try to kill me with? So I'm belaboring that point, but I feel like as you learn more, you get a wider and wider awareness, and you are able to process more and more information inside that rote recitation of the things that you learned along the way.
That was well said. And while I've heard it before, you said it in perfect order here for Heroes of the Storm. That is the way you should be thinking about it loading into a match in terms of your jobs and how to identify them.
Yeah.
The other thing that comes after this is doing it right. And that's perhaps the hardest part. And I know when I was doing, more traditional memorized script theater, as a dyslexic, I might misread something, therefore memorize the line wrong, and there was nothing harder than getting a bad wrong line out of your head for that show.
Yeah.
And you just kept saying it. So for me, streaming was such a huge piece in getting better at this game, because I have a whole audience that tell me I'm wrong when I mess something up. And that quickness, 15-second delay on Twitch going down every day with the internet powers, like that follow through, the exchange of ideas happening so fast allowed me to very quickly, when I pick up a new hero, I've got mains in my audience that can help me through that and watch me do those things.
Well, it's a credit to you that you process that as an encouraging, motivating thing and not something to intimidate you or punish you out of it. I think there are some people that would feel like that is really a detriment to their process in the sense that, oh my God, everybody's going to always see how wrong I am. But I think your point of view is very empowering and saying, oh no, I have this awesome safety net of people who are always going to help me get better and correct my mistakes.
Well, and it's a win or lose game. And so there's going to be a lot of stereotypes or superstitions. And people have things to share. I know I love certain stories and facts. And if I'm a rather bad Twitch participant because I'll be like, hey, how's it going to the person I'm watching? Then I'll just wander off and I feel kind of bad about it. Like I should keep participating. But a lot of people have one fact they're really excited to share. And you need to gauge those things you hear. Crash Lightning Thrall is the only Thrall. This streamer's wrong by doing anything else in the world. Are you? How interesting. And that's sort of the vein you need to take these things. And that opinion, I want to play with that guy. I want to play with that Thrall. I love that he has such a strong opinion. It may not work for me, but the fact that he has that strong opinion, I want to see that Crash Lightning Thrall. And often they're really good. They're often blind to the alternative situation where they could go soak solo lane and get Echo of Elements running for the team. But when they get to Crash, that's awesome. And I know that I am going to make whatever gymnastics happen I can to make sure he's in lane versus the 4-stack to stack that Crash lane because he cares so much.
Yeah.
So for Ultra Bueno here, I'd definitely say, and you're probably aware of this too with sports because you got a coach standing there watching you do this, make sure you maintain that. You're playing the video game as well. Play your mains. Make sure your eyes are open. Play Abathur. Like if you can do it already, right? You're not too busy with Abathur. But be support when you're not normally support. Watch your players and help them catch those mistakes before they become muscle memory and memorize problems.
Right.
Well, that about does it for today. There's a lot of news. Thank you for being here, Jeff.
Oh my gosh, this has been a blast. I mean, I love when Garrett's on the show, but this has been so fun, just the two of us talking through a really interesting week of Heroes of the Storm stuff.
Well, and getting your insights on esports in general. It's always great having you swing by. And that's all thanks to the patrons over at patreon.com/ITN. If you enjoy this show and you enjoy guests like Jeff, like Dunk Train every month, you should check out patreon.com/ITN. Of course, every episode I want to thank Declan H and Cheesy Bob for being our awesome producers over there. Jeff, when you're not visiting this show once a month, where else can people find you?
Well, you can always follow me on Twitter. I'm at Jeff Kanata, which is spelled with 2 N's and 1 T. And I do a weekly video game podcast called DLC, which is all about every kind of video game. And you can find that at 5by5.tv/DLC. We had a really great episode this week with some of the devs from Sony Santa Monica Studios talking about God of War. It's a really great episode. I'm really proud of it. So check that out.
That's an understatement, sir. That was an
Thanks.
awesome episode. And plus, I mean, I'm a little excited for Rage myself, so I got pretty into that one. But if you need a way to start your week, DLC, you can't go wrong.
Oh, thanks for saying so. I appreciate it very much.
You can find me across the internet at Kyle Fergusson, twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson, where I am now an official 2-computer setup, which is going to be great for the graphics and the stream itself. And I'm now launching, now that all that tech's out of the way, my new stream schedule. I'll be streaming Mondays through Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Maybe over, maybe under, but there 4 times a week playing Hero League. And this is going to be great too, because now I'll have Mondays for the PTRs, Tuesdays for the new heroes, Wednesdays for the patches that roll out. And Thursday mornings, we'll probably fart off a little bit. We got ITN in the afternoon. We might play something oddball. But I'm really looking forward to bringing more stream content out there. And of course, follow me on twitter.com/Kyle Fergusson.
Awesome.
Garrett can be found at Garrett Art on Twitter. He will be back next week. Be sure to check out MomoCon. I won't say any more than that, but he's a busy man, and I look forward to hearing from him there. You all have an awesome week. I'll do the good luck, have fun. Good luck, have fun, and take care.
Stay positive, don't die.